There were times when I had thoughts of suicide. I had difficult pregnancies. There's a whole lot in my lifetime that could have taken me out, but I truly believe that God has a purpose and plan for my life. And in large part, that's helping other moms like us really survive depression and thrive in their lives to raise healthy children, strong families, and strong communities.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Love Talk. This month on Love Talk, we are focusing on phases of motherhood. Mother's Day just passed. I'm so excited. We celebrated mothers, but all month long, we are focusing on phases of motherhood. Today, we have the beautiful Miss Laray here, who is a comeback coach, a faith-based mental health strategist, and just so much wrapped in one. I'm so excited that she's here today, and we're going to have an awesome time today here on Love Talk. So Miss Laray, before we dive into the heart of the conversation, let us know what city and state it is that you're tuning in from.
Hey, good evening. I'm tuning in from Atlanta, Georgia.
Hello from the A.
Yes.
Laray, I ran across your page from a reel. Someone reposted your reel, and I think the reel was saying something about like, when a mother complains, I'm going to support her. The next time I hear a mother complain, I'm going to support her. And I instantly was drawn to your page because I have 2 kids and it's a lot. It's a lot. I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old.
It's a lot. It's a whole lot.
Yes. And I oftentimes call my cousin and I'm like, look, I'm having a hard day. This is a lot, and it sounds like I'm complaining a lot, but it's really just me venting and trying to get it out and trying to get my emotions and everything together because motherhood is a lot. So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. I'm so excited to talk with you and glad you met me through my reel because it ain't easy.
It's not.
It's great that I was able to have some fun and actually convey a message that encourages and connects mothers. So I'm super excited about that. I work with women suffering from depression, and I help them to gain the clarity, courage, and confidence to create the life of their dreams. So I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, and Melody and Malachi keep me super busy, and my hands are indeed full.
I can only imagine because I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I know how busy they keep me. So I totally understand. And you did
absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. And you did mention how you help mothers come back from depression and gain the clarity and courage and confidence to create the life of their dreams. So what led you to begin helping mothers?
So I became a mother and I realized in an instant how much help is really needed. So I've suffered with depression in the past, on and off, since probably I was in college. And the thing about it, when you're single and when you're without children and you have depressive moments, you get to have that moment to yourself. So, when you begin to have children and have a family, all of your moments are shared. You don't get to stay in the bed for a week. You don't get to pull the covers over your head and decide I'm not doing this today. You're actually forced to engage and to maintain your responsibilities, to be accountable to your family. And so I realized that, this is something that calls for a tremendous amount of support. I suffered with severe postpartum depression. I was depressed during both of my pregnancies and actually after I had both of my children. With my daughter, it was moderate. So I was able to still function and go to work and maintain things. And, my days weren't, I wasn't at 10 every day, but I was able to maintain. But with my son, it was a wrap. I could not function like I really needed to. And it wasn't until I hit some really low and dark places that we may have a chance to scratch the surface on that I realized how bad things can really get for a mother suffering with depression. And it was on my journey coming out of that I decided that I really wanted to reach back.
Wow. And I was going through all of your Instagram posts and the comments and everything. And I want to kind of start from the beginning. Let's talk about your book a little bit. When the Bow Breaks. You said, I have suffered, I have overcome, and you can too. And you went on to say, my prayer is that my testimony becomes your testimony. I suffered with severe anxiety and depression, but today I'm thriving and you can too. So what steps did you take so that you can begin to overcome that depression and anxiety after having your kids?
I had $1 million workup. No, I really took every possible step. So I went to my doctors for my 6-week postpartum checkup.
Mhm.
And really, that is a make or break checkup for mothers with young children, because that's really one of the only appointments that you have after having your baby, that they test your mental health, that they're looking and inquiring to see how you're doing. And I failed the test miserably. And so yeah, I did. And so my doctor in that moment wrapped me around with all of the services that I needed so that I didn't completely lose it. And so he called my husband and said, your wife is depressed. She needs your support. This is serious, and you need to understand and educate yourself about what's going on. He made me on the spot call and make an appointment with a therapist. He made me call and make an appointment with a psychiatrist. And so I immediately got in the loop of services. And initially, I was just kind of going through the motions, and a couple different things happened. And I'm sure we'll get to some of that as we go forward. But one of the key things that happened is I was due to go back to work. And I'm like, I'm not making the progress that I need to make in sufficient time for me to be able to go back to work well. And so I then entered into intensive outpatient treatment. And so that's a program designed around giving you both psychiatric and talk therapy support in an individual and a group setting. So I went through all of the possible resources that are available for women and mothers suffering with depression.
Wow. And that's really big, because when I was going through it, I never was really diagnosed with it, but I realized that I wasn't myself. And I ended up calling my doctor, and I was talking to the nurse, and I was like, I was telling her how I was feeling. And she told me, well, you already had your 6-week checkup. And I instantly just hung up the phone, and I'm like, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to call. And that's how I really initially started Love Talk 3 years ago, because I needed an outlet. But for your doctor to catch that in the beginning, and then they started giving you the drastic measures to take, that's really big, because a lot of times we don't know what to do. Most of the times we don't know what to do. We don't know the steps to take, like myself, and we suffer in silence. So that's why I'm really, really so happy that I connected with you. So many mothers are suffering in silence right now. And what you do is, like we said earlier, you help the mothers come back from the depression and gain clarity, the courage and confidence to create the life of their dreams. So how do you use your faith to really tap into the mental health aspect of it?
That's such a good question. So I actually am an ordained minister and was very, very active in ministry before I had children. And I got married, and, things slowed down just a little bit. But when I had kids, it was like, whoop, kind of a vacuum effect. And I was not active in ministry anymore. And I will share that some women do it all, and they do it so well. And I applaud them. But for me, it was a lot to carry my babies and to carry the church, because when I was involved in leadership, I was heavily involved. And so losing that sense of purpose really fueled my depression. And I wasn't able to see it at the time, but they're directly connected. And so in helping women assess their purpose and their call and what God has them on this earth to do beyond being a mother really has a lot to do with coming back, turning that thing from I'm depressed, I feel lost, to this is what God called me to do, and I'm about to go do this thing. So faith is everything.
And I'm smiling so hard, and I have chill bumps, because one thing that I'm a big advocate for, and I just really preach a lot, is about purpose. It's so important for us to find our purpose, especially as mothers, because it's so easy to get caught up in motherhood. Or like me, I'm also a wife, and being a wife and having all these roles and all these titles, and we put ourselves on the back burner, and then we're just stuck there lost, not knowing, okay, so what am I really put on this earth to do? So I love how you talked about purpose. So how do you help mothers find their purpose?
So I really customize that, and I go through what I call a comeback consultation and really sit with moms. And I have some strategic questions that I ask and get answered. And then we work on putting together a plan to really get them back on track, creating the life of their dreams. So you got to set up a consultation and get the real, the full answer.
Absolutely. And there's going to be so many moms that watch this and they're looking for that help, that push, need that comeback. So how can they get in touch with you so that they can create that comeback plan?
I would love for women to find me like you did. Find me on Instagram. My handle is Laray Dyer, LARAY DYER.
Yes, and I'll make sure I post all of that, have that, all of that tag. Y'all make sure that y'all connect with Miss Laray, because we need to stick together as mothers. We don't have to try to do everything by ourselves. There's people out there that can help us get back into the groove of feeling like ourselves, like Miss Laray. Now, Miss Laray, I want to talk about this group that you're in on Clubhouse called Good Moms Have Scary Thoughts, and it's a small group discussion on maternal mental health.
Okay.
And I really am excited about this conversation because I have this book right here, Good Moms Have Scary Thoughts. And I got this book a couple months ago.
You got it.
Yes. I got it almost like a year ago because I was having those crazy thoughts. I had just had a baby, and I'm like, okay, I know I'm not the only one. Let me dig into this book a little bit. And I really, really enjoy it. So how common is it for mothers to have scary thoughts?
It's more common than you would ever think. If a mother doesn't have scary thoughts, I'd be surprised. It's so common. And your thought life is not indicative of the steps and plans and purposes for your life. So you have scary thoughts, but there certainly is a remedy and healing for that.
Absolutely. So in that group, tell us just a little bit about the Clubhouse group.
Yeah, so the Clubhouse group takes place in the Real Moms Club, which is the largest parenting club on Clubhouse, and it's facilitated by Camille Joy. So we love Camille. I had a chance to meet her in person, and she's so amazing. But she started a club for parents like us to have different rooms where we talk about the type of things that we go through. And of course, what I went through was having scary thoughts, and my therapist recommended that book by Karen Kleiman. So I basically lead a group that's a facilitated reading and conversation around the topics that are outlined in the group. So I have 2 co-moderators that have joined me, and we have real talk. We have it every Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time, and it's a well participated group, and moms love it.
Yes, and it's needed. Oh my goodness, I'm definitely going to have to connect with y'all because those conversations need to be had. And I'm glad that we're starting to have those conversations, because it used to be a taboo. We don't talk about things like this. Keep it to yourself. Whatever happens in the home stays in the home.
Right.
So I'm really glad that we're, especially as mothers, are having these conversations. So what are some ways that mothers can not let those thoughts overtake them?
So I think one of the number one things is to understand that you're not alone. These type of thoughts are not unique to a particular mom. All moms have these thoughts in one way or another. One of the ways that I like personally to overcome scary thoughts is with a positive word. Yes. So I'm a faith-based person. So, I may have a scary thought. So I say out of my mouth, I shall live and not die. I'm going to quote a scripture. I'm going to say affirmation. I'm going to say something that is in direct opposition to the scary thought that I'm having. And that becomes my reality.
Yes, I love it. And I am, again, I have a lot of things that I practice here on Love Talking that I preach a lot about. One thing is those affirmations. And I literally say it out loud. Say it out loud. Because when those thoughts come to me, no matter what it is, I have to stop it. And I say it out loud. And I always say, if somebody was to see me in the room talking to myself, but really and truly it's me just trying to block out those thoughts, not even block them out, but counteract those thoughts, because they're gonna come. And I don't want them to have power over me, because one thing about the mind and the thoughts, they are powerful.
Absolutely.
So powerful. So I definitely agree with you on saying that, those affirmations out loud. But there's a lot of mothers out there. We are talking about phases of motherhood here on Love Talk this month. So what is some encouragement that you can offer to moms that may be suffering with postpartum depression?
Oh, such a great question. So I always like to say you're not alone. There are so many women that are suffering with postpartum depression. And while that's not an encouragement, it helps to ground your reality that this is not something that you're going through by yourself, that nobody else understands or identifies with. Other people are going through the same thing that you're going through and have survived and have come out with victory and have come out with testimonies and have come out helping other women. So that's number one. Number two, I would say get help. It's so critical. I know for me personally, I shared earlier that my doctor immediately got me hooked into different services, but that saved my life. I think people take for granted. You just go to a therapist, you sit in a chair, you have your time, you go on. It doesn't really make a difference. They don't really care. We come up with all these excuses and reasons for not wanting to see a therapist, but seeing a therapist saved my life. Yeah. Seeing a psychiatrist, being on medication, participated in saving my life. I mean, some people don't believe in medication. Some people think it works. They think it doesn't work. Ask your doctor, see what your doctor thinks you need. And, if you're not in a place where you're feeling like yourself, be open to the possibility that A, you don't have all the answers, and B, what you thought might not work might work. Yeah. And so get help. And I would also encourage, on top of that, the third thing I would encourage is get support. So beyond people that we're paying for these services, there is a network of people that care in a different kind of way. And so find a community. I love, like you said, putting out different encouraging content for women, and have built a community. Find a community of people that think like you want to think, maybe not think like you're thinking right now, but like you want to think. Find something to live into, to look up to look forward to, and get the support that you need that way as well.
I love it. And speaking of support, how important was it for your husband to be so supportive towards you through your journey?
Yeah, it was so critical. And I talk with a lot of married moms, and it can make or break your recovery. And so for me, it was important not only for my husband to understand what I was going through, to give me, I'll say, the time and space to kind of process that depression, to come alongside me, to help more with my kids than he probably anticipated he would be contributing to our family. But in addition to that, he came to some of my appointments with me. And so it's called psychoeducation. So it's not just him saying, you got an appointment today, but it's what time can we go? And I had him come 2 or 3 times, where my doctor wasn't to find out what would make him more comfortable. It was to find out how can he help support me on my healing journey. Yes. Sorry, the kids in the background.
No, don't apologize. You good.
They're under strict orders, but they don't listen. So it was to teach and educate him about what I was going through, to allow him to ask questions of my therapist that I may not have been able to answer, or that he may have wanted, a medical professional to answer. And that was really, really key in my recovery. So it's definitely important for your partner to be on track as well.
I think that is so important. And with myself, I oftentimes just expect my husband to know what I'm going through, or to be able to read my mind, so like you said, to have him there and yes, being able to be in the journey, in the process with you, I believe that is so, so important. And one thing that I ask all of my guests here on Love Talk is, what is a philosophy that you live on and stand by?
The philosophy that I live on and stand by, it's that God has a purpose for my life. I know it's probably music to your ears, but I truly believe that. There were times when I had thoughts of suicide. I had difficult pregnancies. There's a whole lot in my lifetime that could have taken me out, but I truly believe that God has a purpose and plan for my life. And in large part, that's helping other moms like us really survive depression and thrive in their lives, to raise healthy children, strong families, and strong communities.
Yes. And I just want to thank you so much for even putting your story out there, putting your testimony out there, putting yourself out there, because it's not easy. But one thing I'm learning is that our testimonies and our stories help other people, because like I said earlier, so many women, so many people just feel as though they're suffering alone, that they're the only one going through it, which is why I even shared my story. I'm not sure if you saw it, how I lost my daughter at 22 weeks pregnant last November. And me just putting my story out there so many women just was like, Angel, I've dealt with this. I'm going through this. And it was hard to do it. It's still hard to even talk about it. But I was able to use God just told me do it. I don't know why, but he just told me do it. I obeyed. And so many people were impacted from it. I was able to help people, and they helped me, not knowing, that they were helping me as well in my healing journey. So I just want to thank you for just being vulnerable with the world, for creating such a beautiful community, and just doing the work that you're doing because it's needed. But before we go, I want to just open up the floor to you to say whatever it is that is on your heart.
Well, Angel, I was not aware of your story, and I'm so grateful for you for sharing that. And it's so generous of you to do so. I also suffered a miscarriage, and that's a different kind of experience, to have as a woman, as a wife. And so for you to allow that, this is my share, for you to allow that to really transform you in such a way that you've reached back and created such a beautiful platform, I think it's phenomenal. So what I want to say is kudos to you for what you're doing, who you've called forth to hear, such healing and uplifting messages, and all the difference that you're going to make in the world.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. And I just want to thank you for coming here on Love Talk. Such a beautiful conversation. I love your content, your reels. Like you said, it's not easy. It's not easy.
I'm struggling, girl. But I'm like, I'm gonna make these reels one way or another.
And they look good. I love how you incorporate your children in them. It's amazing. So you're doing a really, really good job. I just want to let you know that. And all the work that you're doing, it's amazing. It's beautiful. It's needed. And I'm just glad you're here on Love Talk. But before we go, let us know again your handles, how people can reach you so that they can get their comeback plans.
Yes, I would love for you all to reach out to me on Instagram. My handle is Laray Dyer, LARAYDYER. And I would love to talk with you one-on-one about your comeback plans. So schedule some time for a comeback call consultation, and we will get you all the way together. So I look forward to it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank y'all for tuning into Love Talk. Remember, we are talking about phases of motherhood all month long here on Love Talk. We are just celebrating moms because we deserve it. So y'all make sure that y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that y'all connect with Ms. Laray. She has some amazing content. She can help you with your comeback plan. And if you know somebody who needs help, y'all connect them with her. So y'all have a good night, and remember to believe in yourself. You have a good night, Ms. Laray.
You too. Thank you so much for everything.
You're welcome. Good night.